Hey guys, it's Mike here, and Vegeta is definitely a character that we could describe as prideful. Someone who is perhaps the most prideful character in the entire Dragon Ball franchise. And this is something that has not only been to his positive in terms of leading him down the path of becoming the powerful warrior that he is today, but also to his detriment. Something that has led him to failure time and time again. But one of the things I truly love about Vegeta is the fact that he is someone who is always able to pick himself back up, even after his pride is sullied in a sense, and become a character who is more powerful and more driven as a result. However, in this video, we're going to be focusing on 5 different examples of when Vegeta's pride was shattered, utterly broken, and reducing him to somebody who was uncertain of his very future. So let's get into that video right now. But before I begin, make sure to like this video if you like it, leave a comment letting me know your own thoughts down below, and share this video out and subscribe if you're new here, because all of that really does help the channel, helps this video to be more promoted, and allows me to make even more videos like this. So let's get into that right now. So the first edition of this, shall we say, was during the introduction of Vegeta in the Saiyan saga. More specifically, after Goku arrived from the dead in order to fight him again. And as we saw, Goku's power after he had trained with King Kai utterly shocked Vegeta and his Saiyan cohort Nappa, as Goku went on to power up filled with rage against Nappa because of the fact that he had killed so many of his friends. And what ends up happening next, Goku's power went up and up and up, and as we saw that iconic scene of Vegeta reading his power level, 7,000, 8,000, it can't be. You see the utter shock on Vegeta's face as he's witnessing all of this, and his soon-to-be ultimate rival Goku would be the person to shock him. As what we see right here, Nappa would say, "Vegeta, what was Kakarot's power level again?" And then Vegeta, crushing his scouter in his hand, says, "Over 8,000!" Or in this one, it's over 8,000. 8,000, says Nappa. "It's a mistake. It's broken." And Goku was only ever able to ramp that up. Because not only does Goku utterly defeat Nappa with the use of the Kaioken, breaking his back, and then Vegeta, sending him into his perhaps early grave. I don't really know how old Nappa's supposed to be, but we would go on to see the two of them battle against one another, with Goku needing to use his Kaioken to even stand any sort of semblance of a chance against Vegeta. We see here that Vegeta, full of pride, wants to show off his true power to Goku, at least in his base form. And then what ends up happening, he powers up to full. Goku is utterly shocked and stunned by this power, and as we could see, Vegeta starts to go to town on him, in which he's beating him down. Goku uses the Kaioken ×2, the traditional base Kaioken, and he gets hit by a blast nonetheless, ripping off his clothing and burning him slightly, and pushing him to the point of desperation, where he decides that he needs to use it and ramp it up even further. Before this, Vegeta is bragging about his power, where he says, "You chose the wrong opponent. I was the greatest warrior among all Saiyans. Even as a child, he was the most powerful, above his father, King Vegeta. You trained so hard, but your failure was predestined. You've only prolonged the time it takes to be defeated." But Goku would kind of wipe that smirk off his face by powering up again with the Kaioken ×3, going beyond what King Kai told him in terms of utilizing the multiplier. And at this point, we even see that, his power rises to be above that of Vegeta's, and what happens? Goku flies off in a fury and decks Vegeta hard, and begins to get the better of the Saiyan Prince, who was mocking this low-class warrior in front of him, the clown Kakarot, and proceeds to beat him down, forcing Vegeta to get really angry as he's not able to do anything to Goku, and Goku hits one of his iconic gut punches. He hit Piccolo, he hit Vegeta, he hit Frieza. He loves to hit people right in the gut. And you see Vegeta's coughing up blood, and he's saying, "It can't be, he surpassed my power." And Goku, of course, is already feeling the struggle here. And what does Vegeta say? This cannot be happening. I am an elite Saiyan warrior. I cannot be beaten by some low-ranked fighter like him. I am the strongest in the universe. I guess maybe he's just saying that about Saiyans, and even then Broly exists. But nonetheless, what happened is that, he goes to wipe his face and he sees blood. I shed my noble blood for this piece of trash. So as you can see, Vegeta's pride is being utterly shattered and broken here by the fact that a low-class warrior who is weaker than the weakest Saiyan that existed at the time that he knew personally, Raditz, is now able to deal damage to the Saiyan Prince and make him bleed internally. And I've had enough of this planet. I'll turn you into ashes along with it. So Vegeta freaks out to such a degree that he doesn't care anymore. He's just going to blast Goku with his Gallic gun at full power and destroy the entire Earth if Goku's not able to stop it. Now, of course, you do have to kind of wonder what Vegeta's plan here was, because if Vegeta's going to blow up the planet that he himself was on, Vegeta, you can't survive in space and you'd probably be vaporized by the explosion, right? Well, I guess he forgot about that, but nonetheless, what ends up happening is, well, I guess there was a chance to stop myself there, that it would have done what Frieza did and caused a chain reaction. Vegeta would escape. That's the only thing I could assume, other than him just getting so, butthurt that he decided to blow himself away. But nonetheless, what ends up happening, the two of them have this iconic key clash where Goku matches up to Vegeta at ×3, and he decides, you know what, screw it, ×4, and blasts Vegeta with his ultimate technique, and is still able to overpower Vegeta and push him to the point of desperation where he decides to transform. And he just keeps freaking out at this point. Like, Kakarot's power just cannot be greater than mine. It can't be. I'm the greatest Saiyan warrior of all. And this is what leads him to decide to become an Ozaru, which eventually, after he uses his iconic kind of burst and mix false moon technique, he is able to actually defeat Goku as an Ozaru. Something that a lot of fans like to say, Goku beat Vegeta at the very end of this. However, when we flash forward, he still was defeated nonetheless, even though it wasn't by Goku, which was by the combination of Krillin and Gohan with some of Goku's help with the Spirit Bomb. And what happens right here is that Vegeta is fighting against Gohan after he becomes an Ozaru. This is already a weakened Vegeta at this point. He cuts his tail off, and what happens? Gohan actually falls directly on top of Vegeta and utterly defeats him as a result, gravity taking its course. And because of all this, what ends up happening, for the very first time, Vegeta has to retreat on the field of battle. So his pride was broken, he was beaten here, and the fact that Goku would allow him to be spared when Krillin was about to kill him with that sword that Yajirobe was wielding shows even more how much it dug into Vegeta as a person. So this is the very first time on screen that Vegeta's pride was utterly shattered. But there's 4 more examples, so let's get into the next one right now. With that being on Namek, more specifically during the fight against Frieza. Now, Frieza was the person who had taken Vegeta captive his entire life. He was the one who destroyed Vegeta's people, blew up his planet without a second thought about it, and led to Vegeta going on this infinite crusade of his in order to overcome and defeat Frieza. It only made sense in his eyes he'd be the one to do it, and that he, the Saiyan Prince, the most powerful Saiyan before he met Goku, would go on to become the legendary Super Saiyan that Frieza feared in order to do this. And what ended up happening, Vegeta decided to exploit Zenkai's even further after he had done this the entire arc by having Krillin blast him, as we see right here. The one time that Krillin almost killed yet another main villain. I actually talked about how he killed his first one, which actually comes after this, in a video in the top right corner, which you can click on right now. Well, actually after the video, I hope. But nonetheless, what will end up happening is that Vegeta seems to believe at this point he's going to become a Super Saiyan after he gets healed by Dende. This is what he tells Frieza. Tell me about fear, Frieza. I am now what you have always feared most, the Super Saiyan. Frieza looks a little shocked at first, but then he laughs it off because Frieza knows something Vegeta doesn't, in which Vegeta goes to attack him at full power, at full speed, and Frieza still immediately dodges it with ease, to the shock of Vegeta. And he starts to laugh and he says, "You still can't keep up with me, can you? You called yourself a super what?" Vegeta's utterly shocked. It can't be. And then we see him here just reeling from this realization that Vegeta is still not at the level of Frieza, where he says, "I'm afraid you don't have a prayer with that kind of speed. I think we can agree that the Super Saiyan was only a legend after all." "Is that the best I can do?" says Vegeta. I refuse to believe. I am a Super Saiyan." Now in the anime version, of course, Vegeta does go on to attack Frieza many more times before this next moment. However, in the manga version, it's pretty quick and to the point. Vegeta goes to blast Frieza at absolute full power. As Piccolo points out, "Are you going to take the planet with him, Vegeta?" Frieza at this point, I guess, realized just how powerful this blast really was, because of course he can't sense energy, so that's why we see his shocked expression here, and he gets into action and he easily kicks Vegeta's full power attack out of the way. And you could see that Vegeta already has his pupils that are completely whited out at this point. He's in complete total shock. He knows that it's already over. They even say this right here, where they're shocked that Frieza deflected it. Krillin says that must have been Vegeta at full power, and now, as Frieza says, "I'll reciprocate. I'll start out gently." And we see the narrator, Toriyama, saying here, "Terror struck the depths of Vegeta's soul for the first time in his life. For the first time, he felt despair. For the first time in his life, Vegeta shed tears." So again, Vegeta's pride was utterly broken. Everything he had done to go against Frieza in order to finally defeat him, and even now he still couldn't become a Super Saiyan. Even now his full power was nothing compared to the Emperor of the universe. And what is a prince to an emperor at the end of the day? Maybe there's an infinite gap between them. But nonetheless, as we see right here, Toriyama continues to say, the great Vegeta had lost his will to fight. And so Frieza begins to mercilessly beat Vegeta to, well, death at this point, beating him down, punching him while he's holding him by the throat. Vegeta is not even attempting to fight back because he knows there's nothing left for him to do. He can't do anything. So Frieza goes to finish him until, of course, Son Goku shows up. You know what happens now? Well, we see this face-off between the two of them, which Frieza recognizes because of what Vegeta says, that Goku is a Saiyan, and most likely related to this being right here, Bardock, who was the one that Frieza killed when he destroyed Planet Vegeta, the only example of Bardock actually appearing in the original manga. However, this is when Vegeta starts to realize that Goku truly is becoming the Super Saiyan, and we see this through a demonstration of Goku's attacks. Vegeta starts to laugh because of this, and he says, "Frieza, don't take him lightly. He's the one you've been afraid of. He's the Super Saiyan. You heard me, the legendary warrior, the most powerful in the universe. Frieza, you're through. I'm only glad to have lived to see it." Frieza, of course, likes to punctuate the irony here by blasting Vegeta right through his heart and making it where he won't live to see everything. But as a result, we end up seeing right here that Vegeta, when he's watching Goku, he is shocked because he sees that Goku is still holding back. He hasn't given in to the full inhibitions of the rage of a Super Saiyan, and that's what ultimately limits Goku in his mind. And as we could see right here, this goes even further. As Vegeta actually begins to explain to Goku everything that happened with Frieza. Kakarot, how do you think Planet Vegeta, the world where you and I were born, was destroyed? Not because of some meteor impact. And then Frieza's mocking him, not even having your heart run through can shut you up. How long is this going to go on? It was Frieza. We Saiyans did just as he commanded. We were his hands, his muscles. And yet he killed them all, your parents, my father, the king. He killed them all because he feared that a Super Saiyan would arise among them. Please, Frieza must die by a Saiyan's hands. We could see Vegeta is even crying over everything like this and begging Goku for his help. And what does Goku say right here? Vegeta, I never thought I'd see you cry or beg for anything. You really must have hated it. And this leads to Goku taking on the pride of Vegeta and the Saiyan people. But it wasn't just the Saiyans getting murdered, was it? It was that fact that he used you. You were heartless, but you had the pride of a Saiyan. Now I want you to give some of that pride to me. I was raised on Earth, but I'm Saiyan too. For all the Saiyans you killed, all the Namekians, I'm going to destroy you. So, Vegeta's pride was again utterly broken and shattered here, only to be picked up by Goku, which led him to, in part, go on to fight Frieza, become the Super Saiyan, and ultimately defeat him through the help of Vegeta's pride and the pride of him as a Saiyan, an Earthling, and as the main protagonist, of course, to defeat the ultimate evil in the universe, at least at that time. Now, the next time would come in the next arc, where Vegeta himself once again steps into the strongest role here as he becomes the legendary Super Saiyan. And this is when he steps up to Android 19, the one who had just defeated Goku, despite, because the fact that Goku did in fact suffer from the heart virus, and he goes on to power up into his Super Saiyan form, shocking everyone around him. And what does he say? That his heart is pure evil, and he desired nothing but to be stronger. I endured a training from hell, then I ran into a wall, my own limits. In the rage I felt toward myself, I awoke into a Super Saiyan. I overflowed with joy. I finally surpassed Kakarot. I could become the true Saiyan Messiah. And what ends up happening next? Well, Vegeta would go on to utterly destroy Android 19. However, when the next androids would awaken, this would be a totally different story, as Vegeta would go on to fight Android 18 and be utterly wrecked, as at first he was doing pretty well. However, when 18 went full power and Vegeta started to lose stamina, he ended up taking more and more damage over time, until eventually Android 18 got in a great shot and broke Vegeta's left arm. His left arm, which tends to get broken quite a lot, or at least hurt for sure. I guess maybe he was born with a weakness there, or maybe, he uses his right hand for other activities, shall we say. But nonetheless, what ended up happening is that, everyone around Vegeta ended up getting broken and defeated too by these androids. And Vegeta can't even get anything in, even when the androids are caught off guard. Not only is he used to defeat his own son, who is also a Super Saiyan, but also he goes to attack Android 18 again, which utterly fails, and then 18 even breaks his other arm. So not only is Vegeta's body broken, but so too is his pride as a result of everything that has happened here. And we even see this afterward, when the androids decide to spare everyone, and they're talking about everything afterward. And then, Tien is saying, then why didn't they finish us off? And Vegeta or Piccolo says, they didn't feel we were worth killing. They couldn't care less if we live or die. Small wonder they're incredibly strong, too strong, I never imagined. And Vegeta's just processing all of this. Hey, look, it's the thumbnail. But anyway, Vegeta processes all of this, and in his just total brokenness here, he just flies off in a rage into the distance, with Piccolo telling everyone to not go after him, and as he explains, he finally recovered his long-wounded arrogance when he became a Super Saiyan, which is true. He had been surpassed so many times before this, he had no real reason to believe that he could become the Super Saiyan other than through his own sheer will, and then he was able to finally do so after his training from hell, only to still be utterly broken down and destroyed by the androids, just like his future self was, still failing to overcome the ultimate enemy in this arc, which is time itself, at least until later in the story. But what ends up happening is that Piccolo says, and then he got his insides kicked out by a woman, or at least an android that looks like one. He won't be in the best mood. So again, that's another thing too. Vegeta is a very macho man, shall we say, and being utterly defeated by a woman in this case is something that is only going to hurt his pride that much more. So all of this comes together to show that Vegeta was utterly broken by all of this, and this is only expanded upon even further when he senses the power of Piccolo on display when he's fighting against Cell. And he says, Are you really Piccolo? Where did you get so much power suddenly? He merged with Kami is what I believe Trunks says. What merged? That's all? But the power I felt was far superior to mine. As a Super Saiyan, it's impossible. He's just a Namekian. And then what ends up happening, they explain exactly what happened with Cell, and we see Vegeta is once again shocked and broken by this. And he says the Super Saiyan is supposed to be the most powerful being in existence, and here they're outdoing us left and right. It's maddening. Don't you agree, Kakarot? So all of this stuff with him not only being defeated by Android 18, but surpassed multiple times in this arc, including by Piccolo, is why this is something that totally broke Vegeta until, of course, he would go on to regain some of his power once again. But let's get into the next part, because that leads into the next part, which actually happens in this arc, which is the next time that Vegeta's pride was totally shattered. And that is during the Cell games. And that really happens over the course of everything going forward from Goku fighting against Cell to the very end of this arc, in which we see what happens here. Well, Goku powers up to full power after he and Cell were really just warming up. Vegeta at this point didn't realize just how powerful Goku truly was, because he believed that when Goku powered up after he went into the time chamber that he actually was at full power. But he was wrong, because what ended up happening, Goku goes full power, and Vegeta again is utterly shocked by the fact that Goku has once again surpassed him. You can even see him sweating right here, mouth agape. So that's his true power. Now, this doesn't only stop here, of course, because the fact that this character right here goes on to do exactly the same thing. Not only after he powers up as a Super Saiyan, but then he takes it one step further, as he becomes a Super Saiyan 2. And at this point, what happens? We see that not only is Vegeta shocked here, what, as he says right here, but also, Gohan goes on to destroy utterly with ease all of the Cell Juniors that Vegeta was just struggling against, in very graphic fashion, as we could see right here. At this point, Cell decides to rev it up too and going 100% against Gohan. But even that is nothing compared to the power of Gohan on display, where he can't even really hurt Gohan when Gohan doesn't even block his punch, and then Gohan goes on to utterly wreck Cell with just 2 shots, which causes him to take so much damage that he is utterly shocked at the power of Vegeta. I'm saying the word utterly a lot in this video, aren't I? And what do we see right here? Vegeta is so entranced, so stunned by the fact that Gohan's power is so far above his and even Goku's, that in Cell's, of course, that his teeth are chattering. He can't even say anything. He's totally speechless. This would only continue from here on out, in which Goku, his rival, Vegeta's rival, of course, ends up sacrificing himself in a way that Vegeta, of course, never anticipated. When Cell decides to blow himself up, Goku teleports in order to stop this from occurring. Where he teleports Cell away, we see Vegeta's totally shocked face along with everyone else here. Goku is destroyed by this explosion, and we even see right here when Gohan is crying, Vegeta right here, he's not a Super Saiyan anymore. His eyes and expression totally blank at this point. He is just completely stunned. There's nothing really left of what he truly wanted to do at this point. For him and many other people, this might seem like a very tragic or anticlimactic ending, until, of course, it isn't, because what ends up happening next? Well, Cell actually returns even stronger than before. And the very first thing he does is kill Vegeta's son right in front of him. Vegeta's beloved son that Vegeta himself either didn't realize up until this point or refused to admit, which is that we see here, he is dead on the ground. Cell goes on to explain everything, and Vegeta finds out, or at least is able to recognize this, and at this point, we see what happens. He's so taken aback, and he just says, Trunks. In the manga, in the anime version, of course, they expand upon this. For me, the anime version of this entire arc is generally better than the manga, but nonetheless, that's in large part because of the fact that we get so much explanation of so many of these things happening, or at least fleshing them out in ways that actually improve the story. But Vegeta goes on to try and avenge his son, freaking out, letting emotion totally take over, and attacking Cell at full power, actually causing Super Perfect Cell to need to brace himself a little bit here, which shows just how much power Vegeta was unleashing, because if this happened to Perfect Cell, maybe it actually would have been able to hurt him. Vegeta uses Vegeta's technique, and what ends up happening? It does nothing to Cell. Cell just bitch slaps Vegeta, knocks him down to the ground. Gohan goes in order to try and stop this from happening when Cell is going to kill him. However, Gohan can't get to him in time and takes this shot head on right here, which causes him to have his arm completely injured. Vegeta's same arm that always gets broken, so too did Gohan happen here. And at this point, because the fact that Gohan had just lost his arm essentially, and he believes that his chi has been totally cut in half, everyone thinks, including Gohan, that it's all over. And what does Vegeta say here in his total final moment of being broken down? He says, "I can't believe I was only a liability. Gohan, I'm sorry." And even Gohan is shocked by this apology, because this is the first time Vegeta really apologizes to anyone, in the first time of many, at least the two that we know in this manga, that he apologizes to Gohan. Vegeta apologized? He knows there's no hope. However, Vegeta does redeem himself in a sense, in which he attacks Super Perfect Cell during the Kamehameha Clash, giving Gohan the opening to obliterate him, winning the day. But with that, Vegeta's scars still ran so deep in that he probably decided in his mind he wouldn't be able to truly recover from them, because, as we see next, after everything is said and done, Piccolo asks Vegeta if he needs help. He says no, and then he just stands here afterward, totally depressed. "I was utterly beaten by that father and son. Curse you, Kakarot. How dare you die like that?" Because the fact that, of course, Vegeta wanted to be the one to defeat Goku in this case. And what does he say next when he's flying away? "I'll never fight again." Of course, Vegeta would go on to continue to train and then fight again the next arc. But again, this shows just how broken Vegeta truly was at this point, because he decided to give up on fighting completely, despite being a Saiyan, despite the fact that he was the prince that embodied the pride and the fighting spirit of the Saiyans. He still decided to just completely quit, because he was so utterly surpassed by Goku and his son Gohan, and ultimately became completely useless on the battlefield, and even caused further problems because of his existence there. And this leads into the last time I'm going to be talking about in this video that Vegeta's pride was totally broken, which starts with his fight, or observing the fight between Goku and Yakan, where we see that Goku is using his Super Saiyan form against Yakan. Yakan absorbs his energy, which causes Goku to struggle a little bit here. However, he decides to implement a strategy where he purposely allows Yakan to absorb too much energy. He becomes a Super Saiyan to instantly overload his capacity, causing Yakan to explode and to die in the process. At which point we see Vegeta here in his internal monologue. "I see. So Kakarot has surpassed the Super Saiyan Wall too." At that point, when Vegeta sensed Goku's power as a Super Saiyan 2, he realized just how much of a gap there was still between him and Goku. And this is what led him to allowing himself to be taken over by Babidi and becoming Majin Vegeta, so that he could have his face-off, his fight, finally, between him and Goku, in which the two of them both become a Super Saiyan 2. They're equal at this point because of Vegeta's Majin boost, and they begin to get into this fight, going back and forth. And we know Goku is going all out because, as he says right here, "I don't want to get hurt and give Buu any energy. I'm going to end this fight quickly at full power." Of course, Toriyama would introduce Super Saiyan 3 later, which makes Goku a total liar here, but nonetheless, in the original context, before Toriyama probably thought of Super Saiyan 3, that wasn't the case. And the two of them, they're going all out. They're dealing damage to each other. So much damage, in fact, that they cause Buu to be awakened pretty much instantly during the course of their fight when they're at Super Saiyan 2. We see the fight continue to go on, and as they're pretty much equal here, what does Goku say? "Unbelievable. I thought I trained so hard in the afterlife, but we're dead even. You must have trained harder than I did." "No, I thought I did, but you're more gifted than me," says Vegeta. "I could never make up the difference between us. I finally saw this when you fought Babidi's monster. It was a huge blow. That's why I made up my mind. At the tournament, the guys who'd known Babidi's minions mentioned they'd gotten stronger. I thought maybe it would close the difference between us if I let him control me. And I was right, though I hated what I had to stoop to. Your pride let him control you just to get stronger? I wanted to be the way I used to be. I wanted to be the ruthless and cold-blooded Saiyan and fight it out with you, not caring about anything else. I hated how your influence was making me softer, less aggressive. I got myself a family, and it wasn't so awful. I even started to like the comfortable life on Earth. That's why I need to be evil again. Thanks to Babidi, I feel strong again. Now, of course, Vegeta was able to resist Babidi a little bit before when he's trying to mind control him because he still had the pride of a Saiyan within him, the pride of a prince, and he tried to get some of that pride back as a Super Saiyan 2, or at least after he got the Majin boost to make his Super Saiyan 2 even stronger. I talked about in another video up here what that Vegeta actually already was a Super Saiyan 2 before the Majin boost, so you can watch that video after this one's over. Give me that full retention. I need that for YouTube purposes. But because of Vegeta's actions here, he allowed Majin Buu to be awakened. However, at least at this point, Vegeta, after being essentially beaten by Buu at this point, making it to where Buu, was really utterly dominating him. He once again broke his arm. This caused him to decide to try and redeem himself with his final explosion, the final atonement, or self-destruction. And what ended up happening here, he wipes himself out, but before doing so, he says goodbye Bulma, Trunks, and Kakarot. And he destroys himself in a really great iconic moment in the franchise, which shows that Vegeta tried to go full circle. And honestly, if Buu had been defeated here and the story had taken a different direction, I think that might have been a really interesting way to go. It would have been interesting to see even Deborah come back, although, of course, he was turned to a cookie and eaten at this point. Rip, the King of the Demons. But unfortunately for Vegeta, it didn't end up really working or making that much of a significant difference other than allowing his friends and family to escape. Nonetheless, Vegeta's pride was totally broken here, and that was only reinforced after he watched in the afterlife Goku become Super Saiyan 3, which he explained to Goku when he was trying to combine with him. He said that he hated Goku for it. When you fought me, you hid your true strength. You were manipulating me or mocking me. I saw it all in the afterlife. Super Saiyan 3. You turned my stomach. You think I want to become one with you? And so again, Vegeta's pride was totally broken in this arc, but it at least was something that allowed him to inevitably go on to help Goku, to fight alongside him, and even to finally admit in his eyes that Goku was number one, or the champion as it says right here in this translation. And because of all that, Vegeta was also able to put aside his pride in wanting to fight somebody one-on-one with Kid Buu, and having everyone come together to use the Spirit Bomb to defeat that ultimate final villain of the arc. So that is 5 times Vegeta's pride was shattered in Dragon Ball Z. And like I said before, one of the things I truly love about Vegeta as a character and makes him one of my favorite characters in the franchise is the fact that despite every single time his pride was shattered, he still picked himself back up, collected those pieces, put them together, and made himself even stronger. And that's something that everyone can learn from, just as we can learn how to better ourselves and surpass our limits from the other characters, especially Goku. But let me know your own thoughts down below in the comments about this. What other times would you like me to talk about possibly in the future, or what times would you like to talk about in the comments? Additionally, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and stick around, because there's a lot more to come in the future.
And you better subscribe!